Hi, today we're going to be talking to SeedSpot and getting an in-depth conversation with Lauren McDaniel, who's the VP of Programs. Lauren, thank you so much for talking to me today.
Thank you so much. It's great to connect with everyone in the ecosystem.
Yeah, no, it's this podcast's been a great way for me to just kind of have conversations that I should be having already, and then we get to record them so other people get to listen in too.
That's great. What a great use of technology.
Yeah, it's like two birds, one stone, talking to people, recording. Um,
Absolutely.
but C Spot's been one of my favorite groups that's worked out of Galvanize for quite a long time, and yeah, I love the work that you're doing, and I'm so happy that we get to talk a little bit more. I want to start out with Seed Spot being one of my favorite naming stories, and I was hoping maybe you could kick it off with how you guys came to be and how the name came about.
Absolutely. So some of the audience might be familiar with our founder, Courtney Klein. Courtney is an ASU alum, but also has been around the Phoenix ecosystem for some time. When she decided to found her second venture, SeedSpot, she knew she wanted to do something related to supporting entrepreneurs, specifically impact-driven entrepreneurs, because her first venture was a nonprofit, and she had such a passion for it. And even with her vast network of connections, including the former president of ASU and many philanthropists throughout the Valley, even she really struggled with getting her idea off the ground. And she knew, coming from so much privilege and so much opportunity that she was given, that there are so many other entrepreneurs that have even less than she, but still have that passion and still really need to be supported in growing the venture. And so the name really came about with her thinking about, what does it feel like to need to start a business? And this is for people who, it's not like something that they want to do or something that they ever planned on, but it's something that they have to do. Life has just brought it to them. And the way that she described it was like this almost annoying feeling of when you get like a raspberry seed stuck in your teeth and you can't think about anything else until you handle that, until you address it. And that's really the way that she thinks about ventures that really need to be born, that plant their ideas in the mind of entrepreneurs, especially our social impact entrepreneurs, in the Phoenix Valley area and beyond, who have been exposed to a problem, who have lived through something, who have a loved one who's really dealt through a challenge, and they feel that raspberry seed in the back of their teeth that's telling them, I'm not going to move on until you address me, until you start me as a business, until you start to solve this problem. And hence, the place for all of those entrepreneurs to come was called SeedSpot. But I will tell you that we get a call about once a month from farmers who are asking what kind of seeds we sell and if we can buy their seeds. So not everybody knows the full backstory, but hopefully now they give some insight to some of our friends in the Phoenix area.
I love that. I mean, at Galvanize, I get calls all the time from people who need metal work done. Um, so they're like, "We heard you galvanize metal," and I'm like, "No."
You should really start like a referral business.
I just did that. You can start a seed referral business. We can start a metal referral business.
Exactly.
But I mean, I must say, SeedSpot, one of my favorite startups that I've seen come through the building. And then you also bring in some of my favorite startups that I've seen, and just the amount of kindness and helpfulness that I see from the people who went through the SeedSpot program is unmatched. They're always willing to help out their neighbor, give advice. They see each other as like a camaraderie, almost like peers. Mm-hmm. And I know that that's kind of part of what you do when you take entrepreneurs through your program. So I'd love to kind of talk through what that looks like when someone, becomes a part of SeedSpot.
Absolutely. That is something that we really want to stand for, is a community to belong to that's open to everyone, again, who has that nagging sense of, I need to get something started. Many of the times when people feel that sensation or they feel that tug, they don't necessarily come from a community already of established, friends and family members who already are entrepreneurs. They may not have a degree or a business degree. They may not be former founders. And when you look at successful entrepreneurs and successful ventures, many of them traditionally have cropped up in areas that have just a lot of density around support for entrepreneurs, a lot of role models within the community. And it's something that SeedSpot really strives to be able to provide for anyone who wants to join that group, but maybe doesn't fit into the traditional profile or has, again, done it before. And so we offer a number of very easy access points for anyone to come in, zero knowledge to a lot of knowledge, and approach this really safe environment with mentors who are really eager to help, staff members, and then a cohort of, at this point, about 2,000 other entrepreneurs who are ready to open that door and say, welcome in, here's what I've been doing, and here's how, I'd really like to support you. And we're always introducing alumni with each other and hoping to provide that community. It traditionally had been in SeedSpot's history, a local place in Phoenix for many years, and founded in 2012. And as the community has grown, it's been an interesting journey, and I'm sure we'll talk about it, to really expand that community and help our entrepreneurs in Arizona to connect with each other more deeply, and then start to connect regionally and nationally, but retaining that really sense of a safe environment, a cultivated environment that is a place where everyone can belong.
Yeah, I mean, I think that hits the nail on the head, and it matches the culture that I've seen from any person who says they're affiliated with your organization, of just this open arms of people who are willing to support one another. And I mean, and it's so true when you say people who don't necessarily fit the conventional type of resources. And I think that, with a lot of nonprofits that you see, they're not necessarily in the entrepreneur mindset of, I'm going to make as much money as possible. It's making an impact, and
Absolutely.
how they can, make the biggest impact possible.
Absolutely.
So it's a beautiful thing. And, I know that they go through a program. How long is that program?
Yeah. So, variety of programs. It could be something as quick as a 30-minute webinar, which is something that we just launched about a year ago in response to people saying, I only have 30 minutes right now to work on this, and I need to know these very specific things, to our most popular program, which is a 2-day virtual program. And that's where we've seen the most number of Phoenix-based and Arizona-based entrepreneurs really get their start. And then to our longer program that's a little bit more competitive, but is an opportunity for impact entrepreneurs to prepare to raise capital and then meet a lot of capital sources, which is a 6-week program called our Impact Accelerator.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like everyone's attended something everyone's heard of SeedSpot, at least in my community at this point, attended some, workshop, event, met someone there, met someone who has a company there. I mean, I just out of curiosity, is there any kind of startups in particular that you've seen that like you were just like wowed by, or like their mission really spoke to you? I mean, I'm sure there are so many, but, maybe a specific mission or thing that they did?
Oh my gosh, so many, as you said, and I'm sure we'll get a chance to touch on a couple during our conversation. One founder who has been around the Phoenix ecosystem for some time, in a few different startups, and then actually was part of the SeedSpot team for some time, a gentleman named John Johnson. He really inspired me in the past year, starting his fourth business, I think, which was built within a 4-day turnaround in collaboration with one of our other alum, Julia Garcia, who some of the audience may know won the Impact Award at a demo day just a few years ago for her venture, the Rewrite Project. So John and Julia, in response to the George Floyd incident, in response to the racial injustice, and really the outcry for more opportunities for folks to share stories and hear stories, built a website and a venture within 4 days. They got together a group of 15 or 20 different programmers, storytellers, literally PhDs, and created a website called Dose. And I believe the URL is something like getdose.com. And it's a social platform essentially for people to respond to short questions with stories, and with examples of where they might have felt marginalized in a situation, or where they might have felt empowered in a situation, or had certain experiences, certain responses, and they can put bite-sized stories in. And if you go to the site, it's a whole page of different folks' experience, coming from a variety of backgrounds. And they, again, were so inspired for people to be able to tell those experiences and stories that within 4 days, they were able to spin something up. Now, I will say that is not the typical
yeah, I was
for
just about to ask 4 days.
Yeah, and that's what happens, I think, when you come through an organization like SeedSpot, or in a co-working space like Galvanize, and there's so many other wonderful opportunities, both locally and nationally and internationally. But when you belong to a community and you invest your time in that, both John and Julia had entered, years prior and even met each other through the community. They had met the programmers, the developers, the mentors, either directly through the programs that they were involved, including SeedSpot, or tangentially. And so I think the value in the story there is, while this wasn't their first venture, they had a first venture at one point. They struggled through the growing pains of that. They learned the lessons the hard way, and they built that community so that when something like a crisis that our country faced within such a short amount of time occurred, they were able to mobilize very, very quickly because they had already invested in those relationships and they had already belonged to those communities. Then they were able to get that out. We were lucky enough to feature John and Julia on a webinar ourselves as SeedSpot, and then have that story shared with the community. So I think it's just another example of why joining those types of groups is important, not just for now, but building up those connections for future.
Yeah, I mean, it was really 4 days to launch, 5 years to understand,
exactly,
10 years to connect.
Yeah, and it all comes together. But that was just a really inspiring one. And I'm looking up her name because I want to make sure I get it right. I think it's Lisa from Job Docs, and I know a lot of your folks will be familiar, but I want to do her the justice with getting her name right. But this was a woman entrepreneur. Job Docs that came through, several years ago. And she was a nurse. And I'm not pulling her name up right now, but I'm pretty sure it's Lisa. So hello, Lisa. And came through, I want to say in 2017 into a women's program that was provided, I believe, through our partners, Freeport McMoran. And Lisa was an active nurse at the time. And one of the problems that she was experiencing, and all of the men and women that she was working with were experiencing, is having to have all of their credentials in order, all of their paperwork in order, because they have to have all of those documents ready to roll to get re-accredited, re-licensed. And it's just a process that I was not familiar with myself. But Lisa shared, it's just something that takes a lot of time away from our health professionals to be able to do the work that they do, and even puts them in jeopardy of not being able to serve patients because they may have to take time away to go find those things. So she said, why is there not a solution where I can get all of my paperwork in order, sorted out, and automatically submit to, the boards, the accreditors, et cetera. And so she built Job Docs, and it was just an idea. Again, that raspberry seed in the back of the teeth. And I know that now Lisa is a really well-known entrepreneur. Job Docs is really well-known now in the Phoenix area. They've gotten a lot of traction recently. She's been able to get a lot of connections. And so I think it's another example of someone who came across a situation in their work environment and didn't just, complain, didn't just tweet about it, but actually said, okay, I'm going to fix this. Came to a program, met a bunch of other entrepreneurs, and started going to Phoenix Startup Week, started getting connected with co-working spaces, et cetera. And now, again, has her product in market, is able to be supporting other nurses in a time now where we need all of our health professionals focused on health and focused on making us all be able to get through this current situation. So we're so thankful for entrepreneurs like that as well.
Yeah, I mean, time and time again, I hear that the most successful entrepreneurs or startups are someone who sought out to solve a personal problem that they were having.
Absolutely.
Or, they were an expert in XYZ field and they were like, this could be done better. And they said, this will be done better. And they just go ahead and do it.
Yeah. And I'm going to do it. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, when we're looking at the typical profile of someone who goes through the Seed Spot, program, I guess I can't necessarily say typical, but the entrepreneurs that go through your program, is there some type of, 5 to 10 commonality key features or things that you see when they, whether they do, probably more so specifically the longer term program, what does that look like?
Yeah, great question. So for the Impact Accelerator, which is our 6-week program, those ventures are already doing something in market. They are working with a customer. They are providing their product or solution that they at least have built to a somewhat usable degree, and they are wondering what's next. Okay, I'm a developer. I developed my product. I am a service provider. I am a professional in another field, and I'm a teacher, and I've developed a curriculum for my classroom. I'm using it in my classroom. How do I take what I'm doing in one instance or for one customer and multiply that, scale that, repeat that, sell it to someone else besides, my sister-in-law who bought it from me. And so from a stage standpoint, these are individuals who, again, likely are coming from a career field where they have not been an entrepreneur before, but they have been innovative within their current or former job. Most of them are not yet working full-time on their venture. They're still, maybe have some part-time work that they're kind of using to keep themselves afloat. They may have, 1 or 2 other team members or co-founders. They may be on their own. They likely don't have, over 5 employees, if you will. And they're looking to raise capital within the next 6 to 12 months because they've identified a path to more impact that's going to take some investment in order to get it there, but they are not quite sure what's the traction I would need to have, what are the relationships that I need to have, how can I really get myself to a place where I am investable. And so that's where they come into the Impact Accelerator. And within that program, they receive hands-on training and tools that they can actively implement in their business to build and refine their sales funnel, to build and refine their financial model, to create that go-to-market strategy that's going to get them from producing 1 or 2 items a week to producing 10, 100, to have one-on-one coaching with lawyers, accountants, HR professionals, and then also to work one-on-one with a mentor from SeedSpot's mentor network of about 400 individuals at this point that are, sifted through and hand-paired with the entrepreneur based on their subject matter need, based on their industry, based on the types of connections that they're looking to make. And then as they go through the 6-week program, they get direct coaching at 3 different times from investors themselves, where they'll pitch to investors, what they would expect to be able to present to a VC, to an angel. And those investors will say, this was great, but here's why I wouldn't invest in you at this time, or here's where you lost me, or given your message, here's the strategy that I would take with the types of groups to reach out to. And so they're getting that coaching directly from those investors, and then being introduced to folks from the investors network, because a lot of times they'll say, hey, I don't actually invest in this category or at this stage, but I know a lot of my friends, a lot of my connections do. And so they'll help to make those relationships as well. So even if someone isn't ready for investment right in that moment, they've started to plant those seeds. They understand what traction they need to make, and they have all the resources in order to do that.
I mean, having the time and an investor in front of you just listening, giving you coaching, that's huge. That is a huge advantage. I mean, how have you been able to, curate that network? It couldn't have been easy.
Started out with a small network of folks who had a really great experience working with our entrepreneurs. And again, they told their friends, and it really grew from there. I think what what it's important for entrepreneurs to understand is that they bring so much value to the table. These aren't loans that investors are giving. These are bets that they're making on entrepreneurs who are showing a lot of promise. And so once our alumni are able to go out kind of into the market, into the community and be the types of entrepreneurs that you were mentioning, that it's like, okay, every time I meet someone who's coachable, who's making a lot of impact, who's connecting with a lot of individuals, who's showing traction, chances are they have some connection to SeedSpot or another program similar. Investors pick up on that too, and it's a deal flow opportunity for them, and they have a lot of fun during it, which is also why our mentor network means so many times we have more mentors saying, I want to mentor people, than we even can give to the mentors, because they want to be oftentimes supporting multiple entrepreneurs at once. And it's an amazing problem to have when people enjoy supporting these entrepreneurs so much that you've got the mentors, you've got the investors, you've got the content experts saying, give me more people to work with and support, like those who are in the SeedSpot program.
I love that. The fact that it's such a giving community. And I think that in doing that, you guys have gotten so much back. I mean, the network you've been able to build, the presence and impact that you've been able to have. I mean, how many people, I'd love to know just the stats of SeedSpot thus far.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm pulling up our impact report so I don't get anything wrong. So this is also available on our site. And we actually I'll do a quick plug. We used one of our SeedSpot alum to build our impact report, because they have a really interactive, fun, web experience for impact reporting. So for all of the entrepreneurs out there who do an impact report or an update to their investors or their board members or their supporters throughout the year, this company is called Yearly. Yearly. And we loved them so much. Not only did we have them in our Impact Accelerator last year, a few months ago, but we actually used them to build our impact report as well. So I want to put a quick plug in for them. So as of the reporting, which was about halfway through last year, we had served over 1,800 entrepreneurs. And I will tell you, I've been on the SeedSpot team now for just over 5 years. The first year that I came onto the team, we blew the doors off of our previous numbers by serving 90 people in 1 year. Last year alone, I want to say we served 1,100 people. Wow. So we've just been exponentially growing. And most of those, again, are through that 2-day launch camp program where folks can come in with an idea and really leave with connections, business pitch, cohort, et cetera. So that's our big number. The other thing that we care a lot about is underrepresentation within entrepreneurship. So we talked a lot about folks who didn't necessarily, come into this world with the expectation that they were going to be a successful entrepreneur. Those are our bread and butter when we think about the populations that we like to serve. So of all time, we've served over 70%, over 70% of the founders that we have served would identify as belonging to an underrepresented group. So that could be from an ethnic standpoint, from a gender standpoint, from an identity of new to the United States, and other identities that we use to qualify. But that's been a real, really a focus for us and for a lot of our grantors who are seeing and understanding that the future of our country and the future of our world's ability to navigate these huge problems that we're facing, climate change, inequities, medical issues, et cetera, are going to come from the vast population being empowered to create those solutions, and not from this narrow, traditional kind of a small slice of the population that already kind of has been empowered, but to really spread those resources across everyone who needs to have them in order for us all to benefit.
I mean, that's the first time that I've seen the majority be an underrepresented group. I haven't heard that stat before anywhere else. So that's incredibly impressive. And I mean, the fact that it's in the representing people who are not from this country, I think is a huge one. So many startups that come in, the barriers that they have of figuring out how to navigate within the country, business rules, and what they need to know, getting plugged into a network and a connection. That is, I mean, it's a bigger problem than people know.
Yeah.
And I mean, that makes even more all the sense in the world to me when I'm thinking about the launch camps and things that you have. I mean, they could have the best idea in the world, but if they don't know the resources or how to get plugged into it, then it's, kind of canceling itself out. So it didn't even occur to me about that group being underrepresented, but that's hitting the nail on the head right there.
Absolutely. And that's where, SeedSpot has traditionally relied very strongly on partners who have a deep knowledge of the different needs, the different gaps, or the different opportunities. And it could even come down to whether a group identifies with the name entrepreneur, or whether they identify as a small business leader, or they think that, well, someday I'll be an entrepreneur. Well, no, you already are. But there's things, again, from language to times of day, to access, to price points, to locations, to even now, digital access and what that looks like, learning styles. And SeedSpot has traditionally relied on our partners in order to inform what that looks like. In Arizona, one of our strong partners is the Association for Women in Science, that we've had the opportunity to empower many women who are working in STEM and STEAM. And one of the really biggest things that helped prepare SeedSpot for what became a huge digital pivot for us right at the start of the pandemic was about a month before. So mid-February, we did a program in collaboration with the Association for Women in Science, and they shared with us, in order to hit a diverse group of women, we are going to need to offer these programs digitally. The ask for people to leave home, find parking, stay at a program all day, miss being at home for certain hours, responsibilities at home, et cetera, is going to limit us to a very kind of privileged segment of the women that they are able to serve throughout their organization. So we had never done digital programming before. And within, about a 36-hour, 48-hour turnaround, we took programming that we had built a few years ago and done dozens of times and said, how do we do this virtually? We tried out taking our curriculum and making it more interactive. We had our mentors being able to mentor virtually for the first time, and things that seem so old hat to all of us now because we've been doing it for a year. For SeedSpot, this was something brand new, but we would not have really understood that need for the population. We would not have probably stretched ourselves like in that moment to be able to provide for that. But it was one of our most diverse programs, and it was also one of our highest rated programs that we had over the course of a few months. And not only that, but serendipitously, it prepared SeedSpot to be able to make, again, a very, very quick pivot when everybody needed to go virtual, and really not skip a beat when it came to the makeup of the populations that we've been able to continue to serve over the past 12 months.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly, if you could, how did that conversation go when you had to pivot digital and you just happened to be literally like less than 30 days having closed that? I mean, you guys had to have been thrilled to have been that prepared.
It really was, I mean, let me put it this way. The day that SeedSpot decided no more in-person programs, no more team travel, and team travel had been such a big part of our business model at the time, where I was sometimes flying out to Minneapolis or Tampa or, Santa Barbara, and other team members as well to support programming in different places. And even coming into Phoenix, it was like nothing. SeedSpot the same day that evening, I believe, had our big kickoff event for our Phoenix-based impact accelerator that typically, we would rent out like the Churchill for, or,
I remember that conversation. I was there for that meeting where you guys were going to have it at the Churchill and then you couldn't.
That's right.
Yeah. And you ended up having it in our amphitheater. I remember getting
exactly
that.
Right.
I remember that frantic phone. Yeah.
Yeah. So basically we decided in the morning, like, we can't bring people together responsibly. Mayor Gallego was supposed to be there. Heidi Janenga from WebPT was supposed to be there. Of course, all of these entrepreneurs who had spent months applying for, preparing for, were really looking forward to making their debut. And so we needed to provide them with something. And so our team always puts entrepreneurs first. And so when it wasn't like, oh, what do we need to do to make the team feel happy, to make the sponsors feel happy, to make the mentors. I mean, we love our sponsors, we love our mentors, we love our team and all of the community, but our entrepreneurs are first and foremost to us. So we knew we needed to preserve that experience. So it basically looked like, one person calling up y'all, one person calling up the Churchill, Mayor Gallego, et cetera. And what we ended up doing was hosting like a live filming with our videographer from your amphitheater, where we did a social distanced filming that was like live hosted, run on the web. We had over 1,000 people log into that. And while we were really excited to have it at the Churchill, and the year before we had like, I want to say like 125 people, which is great. We 10x'd that. And again, it was one of those that like entrepreneurs were getting hit up on social media and getting retweeted and getting, they had like a video that they could share. And so there are those little bright glimmers, I think, in what has been a really tragic year for individuals and businesses in a lot of ways. But I think entrepreneurs also are, again, those problem solvers that say, one, how do we fix this? Two, this is the reality. And how do we take this and continue to make impact, maybe even more impact? Because now we have a different platform. And we just have seen that across the board. And we were glad to be able to do that as well for our alum.
Yeah, I mean, I have that exact same story but from the galvanized standpoint. Our event manager, I had walked in from an event that I was at, or a call or whatever, and she's like, we're gonna have an event in amphitheater in like 2 hours. And I'm like, for what? There's a pandemic, we're having an event, what's going on? And she's like, it's a virtual event. I'm like, then why do they need the amphitheater? And I didn't even have my head wrapped around the concept of video production virtual events. And my event manager, Nirvana, was like, no, it's perfect. We can do this. It falls within our guidelines. It's going to be safe. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. And I mean, honestly, I didn't understand it. And then we put it all on, and then I saw it come together, and I was like, now we can still have events here. Now the venue makes sense. The recording makes sense, having the stage. Awesome. And that caused us to roll out a virtual event package.
That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what caused us to look at what was successful of that. And now we offer an actual event production recording package. And we've done about 5 or 6 events like that since your event, which showed us that it was possible.
Oh, that makes me super happy. And what you just reminded me of was also our videographer, who we've used for events for years, sent us an email right after and said, this has inspired me to pursue one of my dreams, which was to really, get more innovative with digital production and things. And of course, with having a little bit of extra time, because a lot of the events had been canceled, unfortunately, for him. I haven't checked in with him since, but I think that's such an inspiring story that, again, you all took an opportunity and decided to go with it, decided to pivot. And sometimes it is these crises and tragedies that open up a new path that we never could have planned for. And it does come with sacrifice. It does come with suffering, certainly in a lot of ways. But I think, again, entrepreneurs and innovative organizations are the ones who can see that light and lead other people. So I love that y'all have done that. I'm sure that ripple effect has just continued.
Yeah, I mean, not even just for the Phoenix campus. Now all 5 of our locations used that initial package that our Nirvana, our event manager, had pulled together based on that one event, and it's rippled across. And I just put two and two together that it was the same thing. So that's really cool.
Well, great. Well, we'll have to take advantage of the digital package again sometime soon.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I know that we're getting close on time, and I really just would love to know, how are your entrepreneurs doing right now?
Yeah. Gosh, it's mixed. I will say one of the things that we asked our entrepreneurs getting ready for this impact report was like, how are you guys feeling from an optimistic, not optimistic standpoint over the next 5 years? And this was asked around like April, May timeframe. So it was near the beginning of kind of when everything started to shift, but also near that time where it was like, what is going to happen? There was so much ambiguity. And, we know, I think, a lot more now as to, even as many questions as there are unanswered, we know a lot more now than we certainly did at that time. So 89% of our founders responded that they feel optimistic about the next 5 years, which was really encouraging, really fascinating. And one of my theories was, is this because we're talking about impact-driven entrepreneurs who, again, never necessarily went into business saying, I just want to be a startup, I just want to be an entrepreneur, but said, I want to solve that problem? So is it like this group, and I'll include myself in this, of like kind of twisted people that say like, I want to get myself involved in really, really big problems, that are saying, oh, here's a really big problem, I'm feeling really optimistic? If so, amazing. And even more so for all of our investors out there, why you need to be investing in social impact entrepreneurs, because they are not fazed by any of this. When asked in the same survey about their optimism around the state of the economy, only 31% felt positive about that. And so even putting those numbers together with like this strong feeling of optimism, while looking at this strong feeling that the economy will take a turn down and be unpredictable, is also something really interesting, I think, to dive into. Where we saw people very close to the shift of people, starting to stay home, and a lot of deals starting to fall through, partners starting to pull out. We saw a lot of emphasis around pivoting. And how do I take the assets that I currently have and just shift them? So how do I take an amphitheater and sell it in a different way? I've already got it. We've already got all of the equipment. How do I take that and sell it in a different way? What we are starting to see now is individuals starting more from the ground up, starting to look for traction in the pivots that they've already made, not kind of being as reactive as they have been, but starting to look for those more proactive opportunities and things normalizing out a little bit. We have heard that, of course, access to capital has been a struggle. That being said, we've heard that, unfortunately, from entrepreneurs since our founding, and I've worked with entrepreneurs before SeedSpot as well, and we've heard that. So one of the things that SeedSpot believes in is we just need more capital out in the ecosystem, and in order to do that, we need to take all of these people who have been blessed and privileged with resources and educate them and empower them to invest. So we were privileged to be selected in partnership with Grand Canyon University recently for an EDA grant to build up our local angel investing community and actually do education for folks who are qualified to invest. They meet income thresholds, they meet net worth thresholds, that they may either not be familiar with angel investment, they may not realize that they qualify, they may not be comfortable, and they may have other investment vehicles that they use right now. But just to open this up to folks as an option for them, with the ultimate goal being that we get more investment into the ecosystem, more dollars into the ecosystem, and we can continue to support, especially our Phoenix-based entrepreneurs, and showcase that when we have a healthy investment community, we have more problems that are solved, we have more jobs that are created, we actually have a safer community, and one that the entire population can thrive in. And so we're so proud of the work that we're doing with Grand Canyon University in order to provide that. And I would share for anyone who is listening that those trainings are free and open to anyone who meets those qualifications. And if you're curious about that, it's pretty easy to look up, how much money do I have to make? What is my net worth? But also on both SeedSpot and Canyon Angels, which is the investment and the angel group associated with Grand Canyon University, on both of our websites, folks can find out information about investing and also sign up for one of these free trainings, which we're having over the course of the year.
Yeah, I know that one time I was just curious about learning more about how angel investing works. And I went to one of those workshops and was fascinated to learn that you can literally invest a small sum with a bunch of other investors that's pooled and spread out across 10 startups. I'm like, so for someone who's looking to invest, you could literally make a huge impact with a group of people who were, not contributing tens of thousands of dollars, but
right.
Even a small amount can really make a difference in an entrepreneur's success.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And while individuals are maybe building up that wealth, it is helpful to get that knowledge. And it's also an opportunity to use the time where we're building up the wealth that we could use in the future for investment to invest in ventures by coming to demo days and events of accelerators, of incubators, of co-working spaces to learn about ventures that are being started and built, where we can make connections between partners and future customers of those ventures, and then also mentorship. So I know that Galvanize has a really strong mentor program that you all have had for several years now. So that's another way, and SeedSpot does as well. I know that Arizona Commerce Authority is just launching their big platform that's going to offer mentorship office hours that folks can sign up to as well. So I would say not only for the entrepreneurs who are looking to receive mentorship, but it's a way for entrepreneurs who have a little experience, but also for their supporters to sign up to actually do the mentoring. And that's a way to learn about entrepreneurship and to invest your talents in individuals even before you're maybe financially able to invest your resources.
Yeah, sometimes time is just as valuable as money. Having
Absolutely.
the time to sit across from someone, if they can stop you from making the wrong mistake or the wrong path, it can save you.
Invaluable.
Yeah, it can save you a lot of money. Well, I think I'd love to just kind of let people know if they want to learn more about SeedSpot, how they can do that, who they should get in contact with. And then we can encourage our listeners to go explore the world of SeedSpot.
That's wonderful. I would say all of our programs are on our website. So that's seedspot.org. A really great entry point are our free webinars. They happen about twice a month. And those are led by content experts, but also some of our alumni who, like John Johnson, who I mentioned before, really have learned the hard way and are able to turn things around and say, here's how I was able to be successful. So that's a great, really easy entry point. Again, our most popular program that I would really encourage folks, anybody that might have an idea to that point where, again, maybe they have created one small version of their product or they've sold one small thing, to check out our 2-day launch camp. That is also a program that we run about once a month. And because of the sponsors that we have, we're able to offer that 2-day program at under $200. And there are often some needs-based scholarships available as well. So if individuals are, really excited, really energized, but maybe, right now during a pandemic, I know job opportunities are few and far between. We encourage folks to reach out and let us know if they need some needs-based partial scholarships. And a great place to get in touch with us is just connect@seedspot.org. And we'll be able to filter those emails and those requests in to the right person within the team.
That's amazing. And I totally support you guys and encourage people to check out your program. Like I said, some of my most favorite entrepreneurs and startups have been a part of your network. And I just love all the work that you do. And, thanks again so much for taking the time to chat with me today on the podcast. And I look forward to seeing all the things that not only SeedSpot does, but all of your ventures do in the future. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for always being such a supporter and also for sharing your story about your transformation with the amphitheater. That was really great to hear, and I look forward to sharing that with the rest of the team. And thanks to the community for all the work that you're doing, making a positive impact through your venture.